Quick record button now. All right. I wanted to see what this video was about because I don't know. It looks like some people are a little miffed about this. It's a video on the what's out there in the Mojave of the Fallout New Vegas universe and what's beyond the borders of the where you can walk. What could be beyond that? Also, 1 second, I need to use the MalO room. I can hear my computer. It's me. MalO. You're fat, smelly dog. Well, that's you're gonna miss out. You're gonna miss out. Your fat, smelly dog is gonna make you miss out.
In the southwesternmost part of the map in Fallout New Vegas, you'll find a location called the NCR Ranger Outpost Mojave, or just the Mojave Outpost.
Enhanced bitrate, quote unquote.
Notable for the massive...
I do not think so. I will chew and bite.
Unification monument, which can be seen from vast distances throughout the game. At the far end, there is a gate. Beyond, the wasteland stretches for as far as the player can see. This gate is locked behind a key that doesn't exist. It functions as one of the borders of the game world, a diegetic barrier keeping the player inside the confines of the game, but it doesn't exist solely to keep the player in. This gate is keeping something out, something which the developers left to be forgotten. Something...
It's the IRS. They're keeping out the IRS.
Dangerous. Beyond the barriers they placed, there are unanswered questions.
It is house. This area is kind of like not all of it's house's territory, but knowing house, that's probably why he put the borders up. Make sure none of the IRS creatures that lurk out in the rest of the desert come a knocking to get his funny money, his funny caps.
Questions, ghosts which refuse to be forgotten. There's something hiding outside of bounds in Fallout New Vegas.
It's me. I'm hiding out in the Fallout funny place. I just don't like. I'm not a big gambler, so therefore I just don't go. We're gonna turn that down a little bit. Actual song. Did my internet just die? Interestingly enough, no, it did not. Very good. It was just Twitch having a moment. Also, that's not too bad a jacket. I think that was custom made. That or they found a stencil and put it on. Various spoilers for New Vegas Mad God 2021. Library of Babel by Borges and the 3 versions of Judas by Borges. Hi, Sully friend.
Saturday, November 25th, 2023. Reddit user codename RojoVivo posts to the r/creepygaming subreddit. Weird new Fallout New Vegas channel that I found. Art project, ARG, mod. Side note, if you're looking for a place to find some of these web series and get in on the ground floor, keep an eye on r/creepygaming. They get posted there a lot. The post links to a channel with the name drb0sch. Created in May of 2022, the name is a reference to Hieronymus Bosch, a painter from the early Renaissance, and the profile picture meets us with the eerie gaze of an NCR Ranger. The description informs us that we will be looking at a collection of old vids. Taking a look
Where
at
do I know that
vids,
name? Dr. Bosch. It sounds familiar.
It's published to the channel. We can see that they're all centered around gameplay of Fallout New Vegas. As someone with a fairly limited experience with the Fallout universe, I'll also be referring to the comments of other viewers a few times throughout this video when they point out an interesting connection or detail, so I'll be putting those on screen when I mention them. Without any more delay, let's take a look at Dr. Bosch's first video, Fallout New Vegas.
So is this
outside the Mojave Outpost?
So this is
the video starts.
This is a like ARG reaction video. not a terrible thing to react to, but I was expecting this guy to be the, like, beneficiary, but hey, whatever. I mean, he's gonna go through the comments that I'm not probably gonna go through.
The Mojave outpost.
Wow.
Text on the screen informs us
Fuck me, the quality looks like ass, but I guess it's on purpose.
that the player accidentally discovered that they can jump out of the outpost's invisible barrier.
I do love the the way they made the quality to make it look like it's from 2008.
Thereof and into the wasteland beyond, a place that should just be background decoration spanning for unknown miles. After making it over and looking around a bit, they decide to continue exploring and making updates on what they find. Looking to the description, we can gather a little bit more context. This video seems to have originally been made as evidence for a discussion taking place on an outside forum, with someone named Mark suggesting they record it. Interestingly enough, over 10 years ago, July 25th, 2013, a YouTube channel by the name of Jacob Novak uploaded a video titled How to Get Through the Gate at the Mojave Outpost in Fallout. Perhaps an inspiration for this series? The video appears to be 100% genuine, and though their route around the gate is different, it ends up in the same place. I went to check on it myself to see if it was real, and
I think it is.
Okay.
I think it's 100% real because I remember that from back in the day. I remember you hearing people say that you can actually jump out of the bounds. And I think you eventually run into an invisible wall if you keep going too far.
Okay, let me see if I can remember how they did this. It's up this way.
I mean, why don't you just do council commands at this point?
And then from here,
MalO is tired, but MalO is doing okay. You can definitely tell this is more rough cut just by looking at it. The ground is a little more uneven.
I believe.
The ground it looks less worked on.
Yes.
But
I believe I'm on the right track here. We are officially
behind
out of bounds.
Yep.
Of the game. You could just no clip.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
But that's, you know, like that's cheating.
That's
Plus,
cheating.
Like, I don't know if you're on console if you could do that. This is a there's something to this, I think.
I'm not sure. I'm not a console player.
Outside of the bounds of the game. It was almost a little bit eerie finding myself in the same place as drb0sch, knowing what they discovered here only a few videos later, though I found
we hamming it up now.
Empty desert myself.
Hamming.
I'm here in Agua Fria, Arizona. That name will be familiar to you if you've listened to Marty Robbins' gunfighter ballad classic, Big Iron.
Oh, yes.
So, drb0sch sets out into a newly unexplored environment outside of the bounds of the game, outside of the scope of the developers. The journey begins into a wasteland unknown.
Helmet. You know, I forget where you got those. They used to, I don't know if they still make those. You used to be able to get those back in the day, but I'm not sure from where. I think it might have been from the director's version or something of that, like that, of the New Vegas, and it would come with that, like pre-ordered. I don't remember exactly, but I do remember they used to sell these. I think you can buy them now off of Amazon, but I think, if I remember rightly, it's been years since I looked at them, but they're somewhat like $50, $60 or something like that. Help! Only you can stop the forest fires! Ambiance, creating ambiance, chapter 2, or yes. The breakdown of drb0sch. So why are we exploring this area? Oh.
Though this video has a much longer title with a string of characters, for the purposes of this video, I'll just be calling it Mojave Raw 1. The description of the video explains that this is raw, unedited gameplay footage initially just passed
I'm more
around to
interested
friends
in
and
this, what
forum.
Dr. Bosch
The player
has made.
continues wandering through the out-of-bounds wasteland as they pass the last few telephone poles and the last sites of the outpost disappear. The sound of crickets and the radio from their Pip-Boy provide ambience to an otherwise silent...
Hold on, how loud is this?
Provide ambience to an otherwise silent...
Hold on, how loud is this? It's about on the same volume as me. Let me turn down that a little bit. There we go.
Atmosphere. As the last of the fractured
Hitting
road
it down
gives way
just
to the dusty
enough.
terrain and the player moves further out of the map, they catch a glimpse of something. It appears to be some kind of radio equipment, perhaps an antenna or receiver. I'm not really sure. I should again preface here that I'm not really a Fallout expert and I've never even finished New Vegas, so
If I would hazard a guess, it looks similar to what the Enclave would use. It's kind of like their tech style.
pardon some of the blind spots if you can, I've done my best. Further into the wasteland, as the sun is setting, the player spots a building, and they make their way over. On the way, they find that they are officially out of the map's boundaries.
Kind of like
small
the
building,
radio,
they find it to be
the
a
Green
dilapidated
Sea.
shack with inconsistent collision. Nearby,
Well,
there are
makes sense. This was obviously parts of the game that they were going to put in, but didn't have the time to finish, so they just kind of left it there.
more bits of ruined architecture. The existence of these, so far outside of the map,
Devs will also make this sort of stuff outside of the map for the where the player can go on purpose to kind of test how some of these things will work, like structures and whatnot. I've seen this in like other games too, especially Bethesda games. Bethesda games will do that often.
is completely strange. It suggests some kind of intentionality behind their placement, despite being outside the scope of the game.
Like I said, it's kind of like I said. There are times where devs will put this stuff to test it and how it works, like how the hitbox works, how all that works. You know what I mean?
The burnt-out buildings, the player finds a series of bottles, cans, and a plate laid out neatly on a slab of concrete and a mattress nearby, like someone's been here. This suspicion of occupation seems to be reinforced when they stumble across a makeshift fire pit surrounded by benches, empty whiskey bottles.
Now that is either, again, that could be testing, but I think that's made.
And a lunchbox. As the player interacts...
That might not... I'm not 100% certain if this is actually in-game. I haven't explored the out of bounds, so I can't say 100% certain. But I can say that this is highly possible this was made by Dr. Bosch.
With this lunchbox, the game adds a quest. M. Johnson Ver, question marks, Y-E-D-G-S-H-C-H.
I don't think that's real. No.
Very strange.
No.
The quest places a marker on their map displayed in the Pip-Boy as M. Johnson Ver, Quest 5. And with this new target in mind, the video ends. The next video starts with the player flipping through the Pip-Boy radio. Most of the stations play nothing, some emit static. Eventually, they make their way back to the Mojave outpost and try to clip back into the map, presumably to make their way to the quest marker, only to find that the barrier which had previously been absent, allowing the player to get to this area in the first place, has reappeared. They can't get back in, and can't even fast travel to other areas of the map in order to escape. They're trapped in an endless expanse. Strangely, they stumble across some items in the ruins just outside the outpost which weren't there before. More evidence to the idea that the player isn't entirely alone out here. Now stuck with no other options than to continue exploring the wasteland, a few bits of ambience seem to spook them. So they whip out the Pip-Boy and try to put some music on. Still nothing. I just think it's a great character moment, trying to drown out the spooky ambient sounds.
True. Plus, I don't even sure what that ambient sound was. That's not an ambient sound.
Out of bounds, the player slowly attempts to make their way around to the quest marker. As the wind blusters through the wasteland, they notice some small objects in the distance, and as they approach, their radio picks up a signal. A station called UVB-68, emitting static, pulsing sounds and difficult to discern voices.
It kind of gives a 1950s radio feel. Some like music in the background.
That name may sound familiar to you, because it is very similar to the real-life shortwave broadcast UVB-76, aka the buzzer. This shortwave station transmits a repeating buzzing sound all day, every day, occasionally interrupted by messages in Russian. The exact purpose of this station is unclear, though most theories center on some kind of Russian military.
I've heard of this one. I've actually heard about this signal. It's been years since I've heard about the Russian buzz signal, but yeah. I do believe there is some things made around it. I've heard of stories about it. Sometimes here the people had recorded or heard people screaming over this sound, this thing, but that's just kind of like ghost stories, or possible.
This is very likely a direct reference being made here with the UVB-68 station, and there are portions where you can even hear what sounds like the buzzer coming from the static of UVB-68. Even more interestingly, other call signs have been transmitted from UVB-76 over the years, one of which is YEDGSHCH, the string of characters we see at the end of the player's mysterious M. Johnson quest. It's as if this quest is being directed by or correlated to this UVB-68 station. While we're on the topic of the radio, though, I think it's probably relevant to bring up one of the more popular creepypastas surrounding New Vegas, the Lone Wolf Radio. The Lone Wolf Radio is a location in the game, a busted trailer filled with radio equipment. Graffiti on the trailer reads, "Keep out. Everyone is gone. I am all alone. Let it all end." The creepypasta goes that there was a cut quest line which involved the lone wolf who occupied the makeshift radio station, broadcasting disturbing ramblings at 2 a.m. in game time, and even sacrificing people on air. The author of the creepypasta gets the cut quest working in their game and finds that the voice acting for these sections seems to include real sounds of murder, and discover files within the game which show the victims. All in all, it's a pretty standard creepypasta.
Obvious creepypasta. But it's interesting that, there was a radio station possibly planned and it never came to fruition. I always wonder about stuff like that when it comes to games. I always wonder when you find content or something that's half done, what the developers had been thinking of putting in there.
Frequencies feels significant to this series. The player makes their way to those small objects and finds them to be a kind of field of more radio equipment of some kind.
It looks like they're all buried under the sand.
Actually, I want to make a note of something here. I don't have it written in the script because I wasn't sure the importance of it, but the player ends up finding this smoking barrel, this trash can which seems like it's lit on fire. They approach it and then it stops emitting smoke, and I really wasn't sure what its importance was, so I was going to skip over it initially, but I was realizing while going back through, this video is called Signal, and so the first part of the signal is this UVB station, but it occurs to me that another signal this title could be referencing is this as a smoke signal, that this is somehow directing the player on this path further. Continue.
Obviously, if somebody's making... let's work with the two versions that it could be. Either it's the version of in-game dev making smoke, like the developers making smoke to obviously bring you here. For if you were going to have a quest, obviously that would be good to have as that smoke signal. Or if let's say there's an entity in the game that wants to kill you, or they made a fire to either signal you, or they had a fire and they saw you coming and then left.
Going to wander the wasteland and moving further toward their quest marker, they find a shack with a dead tree and a car outside. Entering the door to the shack, they find themselves in a dark, dilapidated wooden room.
Oh no, the mega evolutions are garbage again.
The video ends.
Looting. Surgical equipment. MREs. Emergency
Inside the
mask.
furnished shack, the player finds MREs, books, what looks to be surgical equipment, and even a hunting shotgun in a bathtub, which they can't pick up. The inside of the bathroom appears to be flipped upside down, tables and chairs affixed to the ceiling. In one of the most brilliant moments of the series so far, the player picks up a physics object in the form of a children's play block. A tooltip appears reading, "Good. Now push Z to let go of the skull," causing the player to drop the item in alarm. After rooting through the shack and finding a finger, they discover the item's black box 1019 AM.
Also, if you notice, the tub is made in such a way that it's almost like a barricade. Oh yeah. This is Nintendo Entertainment. We don't entertain anymore. We just absorb your money. Give us your money. Shut the fuck up and give us your money.
AM, picture 1015 AM, and developed film. After picking these items up, a new point of interest is added to their quest with the title MJV Code Yourself Smarter. This name is a reference to a quest from Van Buren, the code name for Black Isle Studios' cancelled version of Fallout 3, which inspired large parts of Fallout New Vegas. We'll be coming back to Van Buren, but for now, the quest it's referencing seems fairly innocuous. If you had a low enough intelligence, you could use a computer to fix a defect in your brain and increase your intelligence points. After the player picks up a flare gun they find within the shack, they look over the items they found. Black Box 1019 appears to be some set of blueprints or schematics. 1017 is an audio recording.
You don't want cute, you want Angie Cockboy.
As those in the comments have pointed out, this is actually audio from the Gulf of Sidra incident, a territory dispute between Libya and the US in the Gulf of Sidra, which led to multiple air combat engagements between the US and Libyan pilots in 1981 and 1989. The audio we hear is the radio chatter between US pilots in 1989, as far as I've been able to identify. An interesting incident to reference, but it's difficult to make heads or tails of its importance within these videos. When the Libyan government claimed the Gulf of Sidra, they called this border the Line of Death, and perhaps this reference is telling the player that they have crossed their own virtual line of death, an ominous warning of the dangers therein. 1015 shows some kind of landscape from somewhere up high, and developed film appears to be an image of radio towers atop a mountain, which appears to be Black Mountain in Nevada, which also appears as a location in the game. Without much else to discover within the eerie cabin, the player leaves. 2 different loading screens appear in rapid succession, and the video ends.
That is par for the course for New Vegas with the dual loadings. Megascolipede.
The player roots around the exterior of the shack, finding various loot and an ear. This whole place is littered with dismembered pieces. Out back, UVB-68 picks up again, and they find some computers. The terminals are filled with mostly errors, but one opens to text about firearm maintenance in the game. From here, the player spots a large radio tower and heads toward it. As they approach, more towers load in, massive and derelict.
Interesting.
A site reminiscent of Black Mountain. Another makeshift camp has been set up inside one of the buildings nearby. They find a hunk simply called Remains, which has a...
So, I got a question. Is there anything to do with Black Mountain? Is there something revolving around Black Mountain? Like some kind of like conspiracy in real life?
File not found error.
Outside of the game?
Eat it? Okay, I guess I'm not one to judge.
Eat the remains.
Radio equipment inside a nearby camper, which I can't help but feel evokes the Lone Wolf radio. Continuing to wander the mountains, after finding an area of scorched and irradiated rock, the player attempts to make their way up the mountain further, toward the towers, only to be met with invisible barriers. Trying to navigate around them, they discover a massive sort of fence or wall made of concrete, rebar, and barbed wire. Finding a break in the wall, on the other side, there's yet more blustering wasteland. In this valley of sorts, the player finds yet...
Whoever made this, which I don't believe this is actually in the game at all anymore by this point, I think whoever made this did a very good job. African American mountain. Shut up.
More ruins, which leads them to an area called Canyon Wreckage, also a place that can be found in the actual surface area of the game, interestingly enough, actually pretty near the Lone Wolf Radio trailer. It's like this is an area where the two worlds are overlapping, but the player is still trapped in their side of the wasteland.
I was gonna say, that's weird. Interesting. Stuck in a parallel universe now.
The player finds a hatch that leads to a bunker. They enter and descend the stairs, reaching a large door at the bottom, which opens into a sort of storage or computer room. There are these strange, small hatch doors in the walls, and a bedroll with the item description, "Well-preserved sleeping bag, hasn't been used in a while." The player interacts with one of the terminals and tries to open a series of menus, all with the title null, meaning whatever text is supposed to be there, if anything at all, is missing or empty. However, clicking on a few of these null menus does reveal some information. Mostly photos which have been cropped too much to really make anything useful of, except for what may be part of the Lucky 38 casino from the game, with some kind of aircraft trails above it. Planes, missiles.
I mean, that could mean the whole... that could be the missiles from when they bombed the Nevada desert. And Mr. House had his defenses ready and destroyed most of the missiles coming for the Nevada. Oh, mystery disappearances, but that's the Australian Black Mountain.
Another appears to be an email. Loading it into the console crashes everything. I knew he'd pull something like this. And subject truck. You sure this is the right truck? And another showcasing some kind of cargo manifest, which eagle-eyed viewers have pointed out seems to be that of the platinum chip at the center of Fallout New Vegas' story. The player then stumbles across a briefcase, which acts as if it will count as being stolen if you take it. Naturally, the player picks it up and tries to use it. This activates a ticking noise and a danger indication as if it might explode, but it doesn't.
It's like a lunchbox. Lunchbox mine or something. Now it explodes. Comic timing.
Instead, they're rewarded with XP like they've completed some part of a quest. Strange. Heading out of the bunker and back into the wasteland, they notice something altogether odd. Fish. Swimming through the air. It's one of the more surreal moments in these videos. Floating by, slowly maneuvering through the air.
I don't even think there's fish in New Vegas. Not even in the water. Like where the dam is. I don't believe there's any fish in that game.
Reality works.
Other than the Mirelurk. Mirelurks and the Mirelurk Kings.
Just as the player is shaking off this peculiar sight, they stumble across a massive pit within the mountains.
Ooh.
Continuing the episode's theme of descents into the earth, it ends. The description of this video informs us that this footage was sent in from someone else, and alleges to contain gameplay showing a strange glow beyond a mountain.
There's not very many
Dr. Bosch
views on
they
this.
Can't really see it themselves. The player in this clip does seem to be looking at something, but with the quality of the video, it's hard for me to tell either. Even turning up the brightness and contrast doesn't reveal much, though it's possible to maybe make out a faint red glow.
There's
what
some
this
kind
video
of
does reveal, however,
there's
is the
something
possibility
there
of other people's experiences with strange happenings in Fallout New Vegas being possible topics for future uploads on the channel. One other thing of note is that this ridgeline does have specific importance in New Vegas. This is where you can find a crashed UFO in the game. Here, however, it's empty. For now, though, we're back to Dr. Bosch's wasteland.
I do like how the game always reminds you of what you're dressed up as when you're playing it, just to be like, oh yeah, friendly reminder, you're still an NCR soldier.
Begins their descent into the inky darkness of the pit they discovered in ground. The light of the
flare
gun
New Vegas.
does little to reveal what's at the bottom, but eventually something does appear.
What?
A light, a radio or black box emitting static, and a chessboard. On one side, there's a place for a person to sit. On the other, a computer. This feels as if it's evoking Maniac 1, the first computer to defeat a human opponent in a game of chess, though technically a modified version of the game. Or perhaps Zax, a type of computer intelligence in the Fallout games. At one point, the radio plays a series of beeps in quick succession. Morse code. Though it's difficult to make out, using the spectrogram of the audio to transcribe it, we can find the Morse code reads, "This thing's hollow. It goes on forever and This is a quote from Arthur C. Clarke's novelization
Oh, yeah.
2001 A Space Odyssey, spoken by David Bowman as he's entering the Stargate. The full quote is, "The thing's hollow. It goes on forever and, oh my god, it's full of stars." Elsewhere,
Isn't that basically the same concept of infinite finite nothingness? The idea that every second is split into more seconds, which is split into more seconds, and continues to become a spiral, making time feel like infinite. There's been a lot of books that have discussed that concept before.
Darkness of this pit, the player finds a door. Entering it, they find themselves in a near pitch black cave system, empty, aside from a few drained whiskey bottles littering the floor.
Somebody's been out here drinking.
Dr. Bosch
Yeah.
entering this
Helmet
system
against
of
the rock.
caves marks a decided shift in the series, a new chapter.
I am infinite.
While the wasteland isn't gone for good, for now it's going to be replaced with these claustrophobic halls of stone. While there's no doubt there's
Rock.
a weariness to the expansive wasteland,
And bone.
there's something different about a cave. It's like there's nowhere to run, that there could be anything.
Yeah,
in
no
the
shit,
dark.
Sherlock.
And getting lost out in the open
cave.
is one thing, but
It's
getting
a cave. It's an enclosed space.
lost in here is altogether more terrifying. This isn't my first time in this cave. The first time was for a video that hasn't finished yet. And I'm
Cave.
feeling now what I felt
Rock.
then. That sure, the fear of getting stuck or lost or trapped or that there's something in the darkness is scary, but the scariest feeling is the
Cave
thought
no
in
fun.
the back of your head, the
I don't like caves because they have no Wi-Fi. I don't like them.
call of the cave. The inexplicable feeling, the calling to just keep going forward, just around the next bend, then the next, until there's nowhere to go.
I've been in a couple of caves before. I don't like them. They're small, which makes it hard for me to move around. And like I said, there's no Wi-Fi, which basically means I am not connected to the internet. And I don't like that. I don't like how rock make me not very good. Not very MalO.
With that in mind,
I can't be MalO while underground.
let's head back to Dr. Bosch.
The player
Why-
picks up a knife
yeah,
from the ground.
Brother, are you actually... There's no way you're actually going through a cave with Crocs on. Human feet not very good for climbing rock. I've seen deep pits in before, and you need really good boots for something like that.
And then proceeds to stumble upon some minecarts with a radio inside, playing some barely intelligible sounds. As they continue exploring, they come across an
Tell him, throw a whiskey bottle at him that's full of whiskey and tell him to go away.
alarming sight. Bloodstains and massive gibs, aka pieces of game gore that have been scaled up, rib cages, bloody chunks of meat. The discoveries continue
Bone.
with makeshift
Bone.
encampments, heads on
Bone.
spikes, and a crib with a blue first place ribbon. The ambience in the cave gives the impression they're not alone, not to mention all the evidence of
Is Twitch having a stroke again? Yeah, it is.
occupancy, computer consoles, more encampments, water pumps, massive face statues sticking through the stone. Finding
The
a
face.
sheer pit further into
Look at the
darkness, the
face.
player is faced with the
Look at the
option
clown.
to exit to null, deeper into the cave system, where disturbingly they find a body, which matches perfectly to the player. It even has the name Hieronymus B, and it's
Why is it Hieronymus B? It's because it's your mimic. Your funny replacement algorithm mimic that will become you when we replace you with AI.
inventory. There's a note titled Instructions. Set it up. You will know where. Unknown friends will come to you. Ominous. Nearby, another pit
Hole.
invites the player to enter Tunnel to Null, which leads
Tunnel.
them yet further
Tunnel to my ass.
into the cave, this time appearing a little bit more like an organized mine shaft, wooden supports and metal gates. A final doorway to Null brings them into
The door
room.
to null.
the cave walls giving way to artificially lit wallpaper. It's nondescript, some raised platforms, doors leading to bathrooms, a counter of some kind. It's unclear what this space is even for, if
Train
anything at
station.
all. Lights with no source illuminate the room. It appears to
It's
be one
liminal
of the test
spacing.
cells in New Vegas, essentially dev levels within the game's
Ah.
files. Through another doorway in this room,
Makes
the player
sense.
finds themselves descending a staircase. Attempting to open the door at the bottom, the video corrupts for a moment.
All Bethesda games have that game test room. All of them.
Then ends.
That's how people used to cheat in Fallout 76. They've learned how to get into the dev room, and in the dev room of a Bethesda game, every single one always has all of the items. Every single one in it. So you can get whatever you want in the dev room. So when they found out how to get into Fallout 76 dev room, literally within a week of the games being released, they cheated the crap out of that game.
At the beginning of this video, it almost appears as if the game has spit the player back out. After a brief glitch, they find themselves back in a stairwell, half their health missing, and their items scattered. With no way back up, the door at the bottom
I don't think there's a
opens into
lantern.
another room, similar to the one from the previous video, but brighter and more furnished, like some kind of unfinished dining hall, restaurant, or bar. A mural of blacked out faces is painted and cracked on the wall next to the bar. Sitting at one of the tables,
Jimmy
they're met with
Johnson.
a plate full of meat and acrylonitrile and a book titled Trimorphic Protanoia. The book gives an error message in the Pip-Boy, but does increase the character's speech. Acrylonitrile is a kind of chemical used in the creation of plastics, known for having a garlic or onion smell to it, and the book is the title of a Gnostic text, split into 3 descents in the voice of Barbelo, a deity which appears
putting
in
plastic in your balls manually. Very good idea.
many ancient Gnostic Christian works. If you're not super familiar with Gnosticism, we'll talk about it later, so don't worry. The player continues to explore this strange underground structure. Entering into the blinding light behind one door, it leads to yet more increasingly dilapidated rooms. At the end, the player can see some kind of skeletal figure, but getting too close
is that a fucking skeleton?
To an immense amount of radiation.
Hey,
so
wait,
now,
whoa, hold up. I'm sorry, that rubble kind of on the left kind of reminded me of something. It reminded me of the elephant's foot a little bit. Does it not? It reminds me a little bit of the elephant's foot. What? Why does the color look different? Is it me, or does the color look different over stream? Yeah, I just noticed that for some reason I look up and I see the recording. Hold on. It shouldn't be a different color. I mean, I turned up the brightness just a hair, but it's green. Why is that green? Yeah, you guys can't tell, but on my screen it's gray. But I look up at the stream and it's actually got a green tint to it, like it's Fallout 3, which makes absolutely no sense. But if I turn this off completely, there's still kind of a green tint to it. Huh. That's weird. That's really, really weird. Why is that? I don't know. If I turn that off, if I turn all the filters off, it doesn't change it. That is strange. It's the green that you need. Wow, I don't understand that. Huh. So it's like, it's not the filters, then what is that? What is the issue? I don't get it. Because if I look on the stream, okay, if I look on the stream up on the other computer, it's green. If I look over here on the actual live recording, it is definitely green. Okay, maybe not. Maybe that screen is a little fucked up. Because now that I look on this screen, it's gray. Maybe both these screens are fucked in their color. Huh. I'll have to check that out sometime.
Amount of radiation, so for now they back off. In another room, 2 symbols are found. These belong to what are called the hobo signs, a language of symbols used to communicate information about noteworthy locations to other hobos.
Interesting. So the SCP Foundation has something similar to this. The SCP Foundation have a code. The MTF have codes just like this that tell other MTF what's up ahead or what to do. Like certain anomalies. Yes, this is a Euclidean space up ahead, or there's a monster up ahead, or there's danger up ahead, or don't turn around in this section, or something like that. Or don't trust the sign, because sometimes anomalies will mess with the signs that you put down. So it's interesting. I didn't know hobos had hobo signs.
Whether these were actually ever commonly used among this population is debatable, but these symbols do appear in New Vegas's game files, and here they are on the wall.
Hobo signs are a common trope. You can find them in Skyrim too. They tell you if there's valuable stuff inside or if it's too dangerous.
Something to the effect of, hold your tongue, nothing is here, doubtful. Eventually, the player makes their way into what seems to be the interior of a house. The architecture is strange, areas flipped upside down, doorways blocked by radios. The player opens the terminal filled with more null tabs, leading to what appears at first to just be gibberish. Then passages from Melville's Moby Dick and what appears to be excerpts from Borges's 3 versions of Judas. We'll definitely be coming back to the significance of these texts, but for now, I want to actually focus on this gibberish. It's actually formatted in a very specific way, a way that seems to replicate the website The Library of Babel, itself based on another short story by Borges. Again,
yeah, that's when I was looking at it, it looked like it was coded.
And we'll talk more in depth about it later, but the concept is that of a near endless library which contains books filled with what are believed to be every single combination of letters and punctuation possible. Though this means most of the volumes contain a meaningless mishmash of letters, it also means that somewhere in there you can find every book ever written, as well as every book ever written but off by 1 word or 1 letter. It's a bit like the monkeys at a typewriter.
I was literally just going to make that a comparison. It's just like it is quite literally the monkeys on a typewriter situation. It means that if with an infinite amount of replication and constant creation, eventually you're going to stumble upon everything that is made currently off by 1 letter, but it would take you an infinite amount of time to basically find that information.
Pathetical.
I don't see, and yes, I don't see it anymore, Jack, at least not on this screen.
Libraryofbabel.info creates a virtual version of this library, and the text appears in a format very similar to that shown in these computers. I think the idea here is that these excerpts from Melville or Borges are a part of an endless library like this, with the chaos occasionally bubbling up with something intelligible or even previously written before being swallowed again into the jumble of the alphabet. The choices of literature are important to the themes of the story, but that reference to this infinite random library is the main takeaway I want to stick with here. Finally, the last bit of text appears again to just be random letters, but its formatting suggests that this may actually be an encoded message. And it is. Using a ROT13 cipher, we can find that it's actually a passage from another Gnostic text, Eunostos the Blessed. Again, we'll be coming back to
He who is infallible, no principle knew him, no authority, no subjection, nor any creature from the foundation of the world, except he alone, for he is immortal and eternal, having no birth, for everyone who having no beginning, for everyone who has beginning has no an end. That is, yeah, isn't that biblical?
But this series is so dense with things like this, it's best not to dwell on them until we've gone all the way through. After exploring this strange house, the player moves back to the lounge area and sits at the bar.
Are we gonna have a shining moment? Is the bartender gonna show up and be like, "Looks like you need a drink, buddy"? All alone on a Saturday night?
The player enters a door from the lounge, leading to a series of pool and showering areas.
Oh boy, liminal spacing! My favorite!
Another leads to a heavily locked door. They attempt to use a console command to unlock it, causing a jolt and more health to be taken away.
Ow! The game said,
No cheats allowed here, it seems. Checking the map, it's been overlaid with this 7-pointed star-like flowery symbol, a heptagram, hellish colors surrounding it, and more doors. After walking through a catwalk in pitch darkness and glimpsing some kind of perhaps radio tower in the dark, the player finds a key in an industrial-looking zone and is now able to unlock the fortified door. Inside, things seem a bit worse for wear, and further in, we find a tunnel stretching out into some kind of underground sci-fi adjacent navigational area. Through a window,
wait.
Kind of underground sci-fi adjacent.
Is that from Halo? I'm not 100% certain, but I feel like I recognize this. I feel like it was from Halo. Was this from Halo, Jack? You're more acknowledged about Halo than I am. It looks like from the Halo 1 game. I believe wasn't it on the not the Normandy. That's fucking a whole different game. What was it? The September? This map. Ain't this some kind of map from Halo? I feel like I recognize it.
We find a tunnel stretching out into some kind of underground sci-fi adjacent.
See? I know why you think that.
Navigational area. Through a window, a series of
Oh, that's a lot of missiles.
Nuclear missiles are stored beneath the earth. Nearby, oddly, there's a door with one
bug. Wait a minute. The software. Why? Why do you do? The software. Why do you do? I am upsetty spaghetti at you, software. Why would you do this to me? Why would you stop working? Not this crap again. You better not do this again. Hold on. You want to be a pain?
rad roach in a white void. After being hit, it falls in an endless loop. The player then finds themselves in a series of hallways reminiscent of the Gomorrah Hotel in the regular game. This area
Oh,
seems to defy
good.
logic.
Oh, good. We're doing this shit because you changed the system routing, didn't you? You fucking did. Go die in a fire.
Similar ways to places we've seen before, like upside-down rooms. The player takes a rest in one of the beds, which briefly gives us the in-game date of 12-98-79, a clearly impossible date. After briefly encountering
I already used voice mod, but that's not gonna help.
static emitting radio,
I need an audio interface. That's not an audio interface. I need an actual hardware. A hardware that usually comes with a software. Sorry, I'm just trying to fix something because I can't actually hear him all that well, and I need to turn up my volume because fucking funny systems changing their things all back to the default. Ha ha ha, tee hee hee. Isn't it funny? So very funny. I have to redo this every single time. Ha ha ha, tee hee hee.
Opens by
ha hee hee tee hee.
itself.
There.
Cautiously entering, the player
I can
finds
hear
a
it better now.
bathtub full of dark liquid, inviting them to once again enter null. They're taken to a series of halls and rooms. That
I've tried contacting them. I've tried their Discord directly. I've tried that. I've tried their website, which basically is crash heaven. Their website don't work. I've had other people try for me to use their website, and it doesn't work. So yeah, there is no fixing this issue.
Of a hospital or asylum, though most of the rooms are filled with bathroom stalls and red dice. When the player finds a pool of red liquid in the corner of a dilapidated room, they drink it. They are definitely going to get some kind of disease. Peering into an inaccessible doorway, the player finds cages and medical equipment cluttering the room, with some kind of body laid out on a medical table. As the player attempts to get a good look, a sound catches their attention down the hall.
It's Benry over there on the dead table.
The sound of soft but quickly approaching footsteps. Frantically, the player runs in the opposite direction as the footsteps continue gaining ground.
Hey, get closer.
And the video ends.
The closer it closes in.
The description of this video reads June 1st, 2012, 18:58:23.
I might have to try again, but it just seems to constantly be buggering itself. And it makes me wonder if it's something to do with possibly the only thing I can think of is possibly the CPU is running too much and it's causing issues.
The hard drive managed to salvage this. Judging by the date, we get the idea that this footage is from over a decade ago. It's unclear if all the footage we've seen so far is that old, or if it's just this bit. The description also seems to tell us that something has happened to Dr. Bosch's hard drive, and the fate of any further videos is, at this point, unclear. The video itself appears to be the opening screens for Fallout New Vegas, but there's a very important detail here: the Black Isle Studios and Interplay logos. Black Isle Studios and publisher Interplay were the team working on Van Buren, that earlier attempt at Fallout 3 which would inspire parts of New Vegas that I mentioned earlier. They did not, however, actually work on New Vegas.
I was gonna say they didn't, because there was Obsidian
on the title screen for New Vegas, so it's really unclear if this is supposed to be some alternate lost version of New Vegas created by Black Isle Studios, or a strange mishmash of the two games, or an alternate universe. Either way, it ends just as quickly as it began. The description of this video confirms our suspicions on the fate of future video captures. A vid or two left to salvage, the rest are beyond repair. So, something happened to Dr. Bosch's computer which corrupted much of the footage that was recorded. Let's see what's left. The player has made their way out of the hospital.
What's left
area
is
where they were being chased and
you know what's left? It's your GoXLR. It's all your GoXLR information. That's what corrupted your footage.
back to the hotel.
GoXLR just corrupting your entire computer.
This area continue to be reality bending, with one room even featuring massive oversized furniture, like everything has been scaled up. While wandering
Or
the
you're
halls,
just
the player
tiny.
continuously passes various paintings on the walls. I've been able to identify most of them which appear in this video.
That's the funny
They all seem to
cartoon
be
with
paintings
dinosaurs.
from Francisco Goya, specifically Goya's Black Paintings, a series of pieces Goya created seemingly without any intent on ever sharing with the public in the later part of his life. The most famous of these probably being Saturn devouring his son, though none of these pieces were ever given names by Goya himself. The ones I've been able to identify in this video specifically are A Pilgrimage to the Fountain of San Isidro, Asmodia, The Dog, and Witch's Sabbath. Because of the private nature of these paintings, there isn't much we know for sure about them, other than that they seem to reflect Goya's own bitter and pessimistic outlook during this time due to his deteriorating health and the political and societal unrest at the time. They all seem to portray moments of great terror or misery. I should also probably mention that I am not an art historian, and this is all coming from very preliminary research on the topic, my sources for which will be in a document below. I do think it's important to note, though, because art and literature have continued to be important references throughout this series, and these paintings will play a part in my larger analysis of the series later. The picture frames around these halls also contain a painting which I am unable to identify, but appears to show a landscape at sunset with a cross silhouetted against the horizon, and behind an inaccessible curtain, there's another difficult to discern painting and a newspaper headline. Something about an investigation of some kind, but it's really hard to make out from this distance. We'll be coming back to this newspaper clipping, but if any of you can identify the paintings I wasn't, let me know in the comments. Eventually, the player finds a large metallic door which leads to what appears to be some kind of medical area, at the center of which is a large pod. Inside, a skeletal corpse lies in a pile of its own viscera. I believe this pod is a model used in the game as a virtual reality pod.
That's from Fallout, and that's from Fallout 3.
Case they collected all the way back in the video ground and tosses it at the pod. This gives us a message from the game. The M. Johnson quest has been completed. Interesting. I must share the sentiment with commenter Alexis Electronic. Such an intuitive quest that was. Without any more direction, the player finds themselves entering another doorway, this time to an elevator.
Very good quest. Very. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time for that quest.
This time filled with heavier vegetation. Here, they find another body which looks eerily similar to them, this time with just the name Null, then another body, then an entire pile. It's completely strange and unsettling. Are these threats aimed toward the player? A glitch? More evidence of some kind of crossed reality?
They're
previous players who found themselves in the same position as Dr. Bosch?
Just sleeping. They are all tired. All your clones. They are so tired.
Further into the cave, they find one more doorway, pure light
funny door
from it. Entering Null yet again.
The stream is stuttering at random. I'm watching my own stream. I don't see it stuttering at all.
We've almost reached the end. Just 2 more videos. For this video, the description tells us that Dr. Bosch is still looking for more clips. The player finds themselves in a void full of floating platforms, disconnected bits of rooms. A skeleton stands on one.
Is that a fucking skeleton? I was wondering when it was gonna go full Euclidean.
One nearby. Using an invisible walkway, they make their way over to the skeleton, which appears like a living NPC but doesn't talk. Hopping over to a glowing doorway,
funny skeleton.
The player enters another threshold.
It's time to get boned.
Back in the surface wasteland, surrounded by the dilapidated ruins nearby the radio towers from a few episodes ago. It's dark, almost too dark to see. Something not too distant bangs.
Feels like I'm knocking on heaven's door.
Dust. Terrifying ambience begins. Then something bigger, closer.
Oh. What could be doing this? Explosions?
The terrified player finds an entrance to a tunnel just in time to escape.
What do you mean just in time to escape? Didn't
Here,
sound
the
like
player
he was
discovers the
running.
underground wreckage of a kind of railway, along with a bag of gore and a skeleton in some kind of makeshift camp with a single shotgun. Taking this welcome new form of defense, the player exits through a gate into the wastes and finds themselves outside again, atop a mountain in another small encampment. Here the player finds another corpse titled Last Men, from which they take a revolver. And though they seem to have escaped whatever danger they had encountered by the radio towers, the wastes would not leave the player in safety for too long.
Like a wolf howl? Coyote howl? Not anymore.
Taking into account the description of this video and the opening few seconds featuring a cloudy red sky and a high-pitched buzzing, it seems pretty clear that while partially recovered, this video file is still pretty corrupted. The player is surrounded again by radio towers and mountain walls. Scattered lanterns barely function to light up anything. A howling wind whips through the canyon. Cutting through the corruption, the player is now inside the ruins of some kind of dilapidated skyscraper. Throughout this video, we keep cutting between the interior and exterior of what appears to be a ruined city, sagging high-rises and crumbling concrete. As they continue to explore, a garbled radio plays. It's hard to distinguish exactly
something about
what
surviving
is being said, as it seems to switch between multiple channels, but I've done my best to subtitle what I can make out.
I guess I must seem very cold-blooded about this, but I don't recall ever having been very much preoccupied with that Air Force installation. Its purpose is to promote interest and to provide training in military communication procedures and equipment.
I want else to know what we were doing.
Regardless of who is the sponsor. I don't think anybody working in that time in the remotest ever thought that it would blow up into the kind of thing that it did.
Senator Booster has sponsored and pushed this investigation. If the senator would stop evading the question.
Okay, so this is obviously there has been several references to a senator or a person of power. The mural looked like something that had been blanked out, like somebody was blanked out. By the looks of it, it was probably some like mayor, senator, somebody of power because they were wearing a nice suit. There was the whole like newspaper article about somebody dodging a conspiracy or something like that. So multiple, now this is what is this, the third or fourth time that a senator or somebody of power has been mentioned. Not only that, there has been several times where a military has been called into question due to like the signal there, the UB signal. Which was a reference. That was a reference. So it sounds like if this senator or this person of power has been doing things, they've been doing things they shouldn't be with the military, probably back in the 50s, and this is what this is trying to get across, I think. Because we do see destroyed buildings, so like we've been seeing a lot of destruction, a lot of explosions. So maybe it's something to do with warfare, bombs, that sort of thing. Senator did something they weren't supposed to do, crimes of war, like acts of war crimes, if you would.
kind of investigation, presumably high stakes, involving the military and high-ranking government officials. At this point, I'm not entirely sure what the origins of these audio clips are, but it feels linked, if only thematically, to the newspaper article seen in Pod. As the video continues cutting rapidly due to the file's corruption, we see a brief moment where the player seems to be hiding from something unseen. The game...
So by the way, I am hiring somebody to help do the videos with me. So I'm hiring a professional thumbnail artist to start helping me with a lot of the thumbnail videos I'm going to be making for the big stuff. I just hired them to make a new one. So I'm going, and that's for the main channel. So I'm going to try to start doing more main channel stuff.
Ominously warning caution at the top of the screen. We haven't really seen anything too explicit as of yet, but it seems pretty clear at this point, from the footsteps to the monstrous screeching to now this, that there's something in the wasteland pursuing our player. Inside one of these apocalyptic buildings, the player wanders, seemingly on edge as they explore. Their map is tinted a deep red. Picking up a stray key, they come across yet more paintings. One is a portion of the Bosch painting Garden of Earthly Delights, specifically a portion of the work depicting hell, which appears eerily...
So I'm guessing, if I would take another wild guess here on this, the thing that's chasing you might be maybe it was like some kind of experimentation that a senator greenlit, and like we did see on multiple times... we've seen multiple times that multiple times the idea and concept of experimentation, like people in cages, dead bodies, that sort of thing. So maybe the senator greenlit, like during the war, the experimentation on humans, and this is whatever's out here in the desert in the the Mojave is basically what this senator greenlit.
Similar to the environment which the player is currently inhabiting. Another painting they discover is The Son of Man by Rene Magritte.
There's that article again.
Analysis later. Interestingly, we also get a closer look at the Under Investigation newspaper.
Yeah.
The full headline reads, "House Under Investigation. Robco's Future Uncertain." This is a reference to the character of Mr. House, the founder of robotics megacorp Robco in the Fallout universe, and an important character to the plot of Fallout New Vegas. On this page, there's also a reference to Strange Lights over Pahrump, a real place in Nevada, but one that doesn't really appear in New Vegas, aside from a reference in unused graffiti. It feels like it's alluding to UFOs, but also perhaps the Weird Glow video from earlier. Though there's a lot to chew on, the video doesn't end on such a relaxed note. Another cut shoves us into more dark ruins, this time ablaze as horrifying ambience plays. Suddenly, something jumps from the darkness, the player fires, and the video ends.
I couldn't see
and that's the latest video on the channel. Player fires.
One moment. Well, let's take a look. I was doing this earlier. Hold on. Oh, cool. Yeah, no saturation. 0 saturation. And then let's turn up the... Oh, no, that's not helping. Well, that don't help. Ah, darn it. I was hoping that would help a little bit. Hold on, let me try the gamma. There we go. I don't see anything. What's the contrast doesn't help. I can't. Hold on. I'll try to go frame by. Actually, you can see, I think, something there. It looks like a body of some sort. You can see it, I think, right there-ish. Because, look. Okay. You can see right here, the head is, like, some kind of head is forming right here. I think. Because you don't see anything else change. But then you see before he starts shooting, It might be the red mist, possibly. It's hard to tell, but none of the other red mist is from the gunfire is staying. If you look at it closely, right here, you can see the body is forming right here, and then you can see another bit of the body is forming right there too. Because the red mist isn't staying anywhere else. If you look, it's gone. Everywhere else, it's gone, except for here. Then it's shot again. All the red mist is gone, except for here, from the flare, the muzzle flare. And then he shoots again, and you can see the red flare is disappearing everywhere else, except for like here, and all around here in bits. It's almost like when the Doom, it's me messing with the contrast to see what I can see in the darkness and the gamma. See, this is what it looks like to normal, okay? This is what it looks like normally. Without this contrast, you don't see Jack and you don't see anything. You don't see Jack. You don't see him. But when I turn up the gamma, you can now see that there is something possibly being formed. Something is slowly becoming like physically here. You can't tell what it is. It's just kind of humanoid in shape. I am gone. It's hard to tell. It really is. It's so dark. It's just near impossible to unsee what it is. Also, let me I'm gonna turn that to 0 again. You can just barely see it without the gamma or anything on. Just barely. But you can kind of see it. The form of some kind of body.
And the video.
And then the video's gone.
Ends. And that's the latest video on the channel as of now. There is one more secret this video has to offer though. Running the audio of the episode through spectrogram analysis, we can find that some of the glitched audio actually creates some images. The first just being some kind of cute smiley face design, and the second being what appears to be Mr. House stepping down from an airplane. As far as I've been able to find, these are the only spectrogram images in the series so far, but as more videos come out, it's worth to keep in mind for the future. As of now, though, that's the end.
Aw. Plenty enough to get some clues, though. That was in 2023. I don't think any new videos are coming out unless they land. They're like not planning anything yet.
The mysteries of the wasteland only seem farther out of reach, but we've been given an awful lot to chew on. The only thing left to do is to try and tie these threads together and see what we come up with on the other side. But truly understanding the complex web of information we've been given is a journey all of its own. So let's start trekking. This series is dense.
Hello again. Just City getting home. I wanted to talk to City for a little bit before you know, continued with what I was doing. Damn, 16%. 8 hours remaining. Oh, God. That's way insane.
I try not to over-explain every episode in these breakdowns, but
City isn't real.
It's like something
You've said that
every
before.
minute. To give ourselves an easier time with our analysis, let's start simple. The player, who we can safely assume is Dr.b0sch, discovers that the invisible barrier keeping them from crossing out to the other side of the Mojave outpost is gone, and they can simply jump over. Sharing this discovery on some kind of outside forum, someone named Mark suggests that they record it and show their fellow users. From here, the forum discussions presumably continue as the player records more and explores further. After being unable to re-enter into the surface world of the game, there's nothing else to do but continue wandering out of bounds. At some point, I would wager due to something they ran into in the game, their hard drive is corrupted and leaves the player with only pieces of their documented journey. The description of the channel calls these uploads old vids, and considering the movie maker vibe of the first one and the date given to the recovered intro recording as 2012, it's possible these are all from that same period, though none of this is confirmed. And the reason these are being uploaded, or
2012 was a great year.
now, is anyone's guess.
Even
So,
with the
that's what's
whole
happening
funny,
outside
like,
the
end of the world situation.
of the game itself. What about inside Dr. Bosch's unusual copy of Fallout New Vegas? It gets weird, in ways I haven't even mentioned yet. Subtle details.
So what's that
then may
audio
gloss
bar
over.
that's recording behind him? This is YouTube for sure, but what is that? Is that like Audacity or something?
A first watch, many things that I missed which were brought to my attention via reading the comments. The element probably most obvious is the connection this series makes to Van Buren. The first two entries in the Fallout series were created by Black Isle Studios and Interplay Productions, and work eventually began on Fallout 3, codenamed Van Buren. This game, much like New Vegas, would take place in the Mojave Desert, but the majority of its story and characters were completely different. Eventually, though, Black Isle Studios would shut down, and the Fallout series would instead be handed to Bethesda Softworks, who created an entirely new Fallout 3. Bethesda would then publish Fallout New Vegas, developed by Obsidian Games. New Vegas would end up incorporating elements from Van Buren, including the main setting of the Mojave. This history is important because there's a special connection there between Van Buren and New Vegas, but New Vegas was not developed by Black Isle or Interplay, which makes it all the stranger that in that intro video, we see the splash screens for Black Isle and Interplay. The title doesn't even say Fallout 3, it still says New Vegas. And the game we see is very much the Bethesda-style RPG, not the isometric turn-based game that was planned for Van Buren. So what does this mean? Well, along with other inconsistencies we'll begin to see, it almost feels like we're peeking into an alternate universe, where Black Isle did develop the third Fallout game, and both Fallout 3 and New Vegas have been combined. For more Van Buren connections, we have the direct name drop of the Code Yourself Smarter quest from Van Buren, and the quest name M. Johnson. President Martin Van Buren, from which the project derived its codename, served with Vice President Richard M. Johnson. And then there's the items. Tons of items show up in this playthrough that shouldn't be here. Weapons and text from Fallout 3 or DLCs. At one point, the player finds a syringe titled Morphine. This was the original name.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait, the Med-X. They made morphine into Med-X. Yeah.
The name of this item in-game is Med-X. The name was changed due to censorship, so why is it here? Little details like this are scattered throughout the world, which seem to combine other games in the series or games that never shipped altogether. Then there's the little things, which can be extrapolated into even stranger connections, like the statue heads found in the caves, which have been connected to the Dunwich mystery in Fallout 3 and 4, which directly references H.P. Lovecraft and some.
I was gonna say, I recognize those, but I didn't recognize them from like the Fallout New Vegas. I was gonna say I recognize them. I think they're from Fallout 3 because you can see some of those statues in the Washington.
Kind of secretive cosmic entity. And what about all this stuff surrounding Mr. House? He shows up in newspaper clippings and spectrograms in his Lucky 38.
Also, the Dunwich building is legendary for a reason. I went through Dunwich blind. It is a terrifying place.
Appears in a photo with what may be missiles streaking across the sky above it. And an even stranger detail is where the Lucky 38 doesn't appear. Though the quality makes it difficult to discern, the splash screen for New Vegas in the intro video appears to be missing something crucial.
Yeah, the
one we actually see in the game includes the Vegas skyline in the background, very prominently featuring the Lucky 38. In intro, it's missing. So what happened to Mr. House in the Lucky 38? In the story of the real game, Mr. House is an incredibly successful megacorp owner who protects Vegas from the destruction of the Great War, allowing the Strip as well as himself in the Lucky 38 to survive. With the imagery of the missiles overhead, the newspaper declaring him under investigation and his fate uncertain, and the missing Lucky 38, it's almost like in this alternate version of the game, the Lucky 38 didn't survive the war. But what does that actually even mean for the series? What is this mishmash of different games, concepts, and changes? The other possibility I see these details spelling out is a little less straightforward, that this is a regular copy of New Vegas, but outside the bounds of the game is almost a purgatory of sorts. A purgatory for the game. The influences, the changes, the origins, what could have been.
Half-coded.
Where scrapped concepts and unimplemented ideas rot outside the confines of the neatly packaged world the developers meant
Well,
for
it
us
is
to
an
see.
alternative
More than
reality.
a concrete place, a graveyard of creativity given a
Just
physical
bleeding
space as
through.
the player explores. In a way, like the Lone Wolf Radio creepypasta, an exploration of the darker side of content which is cut from the game during development. The reason we know so much about Van Buren is because
It's kind of I would draw the comparison to similarly the Psychonauts game, where in Psychonauts, big spoiler if you haven't played that game, when Raz and Coach Oleander end up mixing their brains together, their two worlds, their two minds mix and match in this sort of like joined world where they both their pasts come in together to make one combined past. It's kind of similar to that. It's where it's Fallout New Vegas meeting the Black Isles version of Fallout New Vegas that could have been the partial work on that.
The design documents for the game were leaked, giving the community a huge amount of details about this game that never was. The story, characters, gameplay, environments, though many of these documents were unfinished or placeholders. In some ways, the series almost feels like sifting through the documents themselves, disparate pieces of information, some familiar and some new, trying in vain to cobble together a clearer picture of what the game was actually going to be. It's a search for answers in incomplete information. And this, I think, is the core theme of the series, and it's only one of many connections this series makes which explores it. And as I go through more of them, you'll start to see just how strong this theme is throughout. To start, one commenter points out another connection which might finally help us understand the strange world our player resides in. Mad God is a film by effects artist Phil Tippett.
Oh yeah, I've heard of this. I've heard of this movie. It's an insanely well animated stop motion animation.
Live action puppetry and computer effects into an incredible, hellish.
Yeah, everything about this movie is terrifying. It just is super duper uncanny valley. I remember watching a review on this. Hi, Carmi.
And there are some similarities here that feel too coincidental. The story follows a character known as the Assassin, dressed in similar garb to our player, descending into an ever-devolving pit of brutal and horrific worlds.
It's really good. It is.
A ticking briefcase of explosives, the Assassin witnesses constant horrors beyond comprehension.
Seems fairly similar, right? There are even more connections to be made as well.
We find out later that
it's a super big passion project. Who made that again? I forget his name. It was from a famous director, right? Yeah, director Phil Tippett. Phil Tippett, wasn't he a famous animator too? Let me see. Phil Tippett. I forgot. It's been a long time. He helped make a few things back in like the 80s, like the Dragon Slayer. Let's see. Yeah, an American animator, visual effects supervisor, and producer and filmmaker. Helped with DreamWorks and ILM. Then formed his own company. He worked at his works. His works appeared in the movies like the Star Wars movie, the Jurassic Park, and RoboCop. So basically, he helped make a lot of like the sets for those movies, like the little starships for the Millennium Falcon and stuff like that. He put together a lot of that stuff. Like, you know what I mean? He did all that kind of work for them, so that's really interesting. I knew I remembered hearing about Mad God. Phil Tippett, who is famous for helping make a lot of the sets and pieces for like the RoboCop movie, Star Wars, and Jurassic Park, as well as other things. Yeah, practical effects, puppetry, animatronics. Yeah, he was one of the major players of stop motion animation and a lot of that sort of thing with those types of the movies, like the like, you know, spaceships, models, stuff like that, to make it look like it's really happening. Yeah, really cool guy. He's kind of a legend in his field. Even what he worked in Howard the Duck. Ah, amazing. Seems like a lot of major animators cut their teeth at ILM, which is kind of crazy, but yeah. Strange how they all kind of went to Industrial Light and Magic. Hey, there's George. Oh, I didn't know George Lucas was the founder of ILM. Huh. Interesting.
And is just one of many near identical figures sent on the same mission, calling to mind the identical bodies we see in Dr. Bosch.
That makes sense.
Heavily with the
I never watched the movie, so I wasn't 100% certain about that.
Imagery and
Also, hi, Wolf.
Of nuclear war, and even includes
what was the thumbnail? What did it look like?
Character referred to as the Last Man, which we also see in Dr. Bosch, both likely references to Nietzsche's last man concept, the archetypal passive nihilist and antithesis of the Übermensch. Now, I don't think the Dr. Bosch videos are a direct adaptation of Phil Tippett's film, but I think it's very likely that some of these references and inspirations are deliberate, and understanding Mad God's themes may help us understand 18%. Some of the themes present in Dr. Bosch. Mad God seems to deal a lot with post-World War I and II philosophy, the nihilism and despair that came from grappling with the horrors of global warfare in the 20th century, and the existential threat that nuclear weapons introduced into the world, and the questioning of the social and power structures previously.
Cool, I can't wait to see that.
Throughout the film, characters all seem to be motivated with finding a solution to the endless chaotic cruelty the world of the movie is filled with. For some, that's simply destroying it, believing there is no solution other than ending the meaningless suffering for good. For others, it's trying to rebirth a new universe in the hopes that the opportunity will bring a better life for those after. The question at the core of these characters' minds is whether it's possible to find meaning in the universe, or if it's all senseless, random cruelty. And it's this focus on finding answers in a callous world filled with nihilistic cruelty and passivity to that cruelty, which I think holds the most relevance to Dr. Bosch. The wasteland out of bounds is filled with danger and terrifying imagery, many times calling direct parallels to the hellish worlds of Mad God. And just as terrifying as it is, it at times can also feel senseless and confusing. It asks us to decode messages and try to unravel its mysteries, but are there any answers to be found? This theme is further explored with Dr. Bosch's many literary and religious inclusions. I talked before about the multiple Gnostic texts which appear throughout the series. So what is Gnosticism? Well, I am again not an expert in ancient heretical Christian history, but a simple way to put it is a set of religious and philosophical ideas which emerged in certain Jewish and early Christian sects in the 1st and 2nd century. Thanks, Wikipedia. It's a very esoteric and spiritual school of thought, believing the material world to be inherently corrupt and abhorrent, created by a malevolent lesser god, while a higher perfect god and spiritual plane exists outside the material world. And only by shedding the material world can a soul be saved. Something the Gnostic believes.
Kind of similar to Buddhism. Buddhism is in the same vein. The idea and concept of there is suffering for everyone. There is no such thing as perfection, and to become, to escape the idea of rebirth and the cycle of rebirth is to shrug off all your material possessions and the material world as a whole and find spiritual enlightenment.
Seem very focused on is the search or uncovering of secret truths or knowledge.
Finding
enlightenment.
It's on my head. Country yen. Yen. I like that. Not hen. Hien. Thank you for the follow. Welcome on in.
And spiritual insight via uncovering hidden wisdom.
Wow.
It seems like no accident to me that the series seems invested in bringing these writings up again and again, especially writings like Trimorphic Protonoia, a cosmological text coming from the voice of Barbalo, the first emanation of God, sharing with us truths of creation of the universe.
I went a little, my brain had a stroke.
Seek fluid intake.
Ha! The face from Mad God. Yeah. Yeah, I thought so. I was like, was it the face of the Mad God guy? Yeah, that sure was. Anti-May. Hydration.
This search for a larger answer, a truth in the corrupt world. And the series continues this exploration of finding spiritual truth with its inclusion of Borges' 3 versions of Judas. This story follows a man who presents his own hypothesis on the nature of Judas in the Bible, that without Judas, Jesus would not have been led to his death to the redemption of humanity. His beliefs evolve until he is convinced that ultimately it was not Jesus who made the ultimate human sacrifice for mankind, but was instead Judas, remembered as the ultimate traitor and turning away his own salvation. He was damned.
Interesting concept, and I like that. That is a very cool, interesting thought. Like a school of thought for Judas.
So that the rest of humanity could be redeemed.
You can do a lot as an animator, switching top teeth and bottom teeth. Ooh, that's true.
To limit all that happened to the agony of one afternoon on the cross would be blasphemous.
And he goes on to say that Judas was the true human incarnation of God.
God became a man completely, a man to the point of infamy, a man to the point of being reprehensible, all the way to the abyss. In order to save us, he could have chosen any of the destinies which together weave this uncertain web of history. He chose an infamous destiny. He was Judas.
This discovery drives the character mad, believing this knowledge to be something intended by God to remain secret, and that by revealing it, he had committed a grand blasphemy.
Ooh.
It calls to mind Gnostic texts, like the Gospel of Judas, which claims that Judas was the only one who truly understood Jesus' message, while the other disciples foolishly worshipped the lesser, malevolent God who created the world, which I mentioned earlier. So, more stories included in the series, which contend with the uncovering of a hidden truth, an especially dark and metaphysical one at that. And it's not even the only work of Borges that does this, that is referenced in the series. Hell, that's even in this collection of stories. 2 other literary works found within the series seem to exemplify this theme even more precisely. For one, Moby Dick, which feels like a self-evident inclusion in a story about
White
a
whale.
perhaps doomed search for truth in chaos. But
Which is what
other work
Bosch
being
is doing,
referenced,
Dr.
The
Bosch.
Library of Babel, seems to be a perfect showcase. In the
I just
story,
realized this man is using a Mac. Horrible. Evil.
the universe is a library filled with books which contain every possible combination of letters which could be held within one, a near infinite archive of all knowledge. For the most part, though, the books are meaningless, random, assortments of letters which are in no way discernible. One could spend their entire life in the library without ever finding a coherent sentence, and many do. And when the people who inhabit this universe die, they are lifted over the railings of the staircase of the incomprehensibly towering library and thrown into the void, falling for what may be an eternity. In life, they try in vain to find the answers to life's most important questions, prophecies which tell the entire future, the solutions to the most difficult philosophical problems, for all these exist within the library. But so do false prophecies, or works which end just before the answer, and the likelihood of anyone ever finding even one coherent manuscript is near zero. Centuries of librarians try to find meaning in the expanse of randomness, or even just the path to find meaning. We hear of philosophical movements coming and going, belief systems exerting power and eventually falling, all motivated to find the answers to their world in the pages of these near-endless books. Obviously, the universe of this library can be read as a mirror of our own, but as it relates to Dr. Bosch, it seems almost too perfect of an encapsulation.
We're watching Something's Hiding Outside this game, which is outside of Fallout New Vegas. which is basically an entire ARG about and somebody going outside the bounds of the game and basically locking themselves out of the game and finding things that you shouldn't find in the game.
Of our theme, the search for truth in chaos. But what about the paintings? Hieronymus Bosch, Goya's black paintings, Rene Magritte. Here, I think the theme is advanced twofold. On the one hand, they continue this idea of a disturbing and cruel world. Bosch's depictions of religious imagery are especially noteworthy for their disturbing and horrific portrayals, particularly of hell. Goya's black paintings are similar, though in a decidedly less fantastical fashion. These paintings, influenced by his bleak outlook and the personal suffering he experienced at this point in his life, portray moments of great terror, misery, and cruelty. They paint the most haunting parts of the human experience, but it's not only that. Their inclusion, in my view, is once again being used to draw us to this core theme. Goya created these paintings in the privacy of his home, on the walls themselves. He never gave them titles, at least not that we know of. He never discussed their meaning. They were private, not created with the intention of being seen by the outside world. This has left an enduring mystery to these paintings, no doubt encouraged by their darkness, their macabre nature. In their own way, the paintings have become a search for answers within a horrifying world, where viewers peer into the haunting scenes which Goya painted and try to unearth the meanings behind them, some insight into Goya's mind or the world in which he lived. As for the Son of Man, I'll leave this quote from Magritte himself on the painting.
Everything we see hides another thing. We always want to see what is hidden by what we see. There is an interest in that which is hidden and which the visible does not show us. This interest can take the form of a quite intense feeling, a sort of conflict, one might say, between the visible that is hidden and the visible that is present.
I think the literary works, paintings, and films which are referenced in this series are very intentional and serve to reinforce both the central theme of the series and the world in which it takes place. The wasteland we see in Dr. Bosch's videos portrays a bleak world, riddled with corpses, body parts, chaos, and danger, ruminating in the cancelled game which inspired it, left unfinished and discarded only to be picked apart for scraps. It's hellish in the most traditional sense, a combination of Hieronymus Bosch's fantastical hellscapes and the post-war industrial nightmare of Mad God. But in all the ways this world is horrific and dangerous, it is also chaotic and obscure. Very rarely does there seem to be a rhyme or reason to the events that take place, the quests or the impossible rooms. And things are clearly broken, defective or missing menus, glitches and corrupted data. It can feel random and senseless. But in the end, the player can't help but continue exploring. It's the only world they have left to explore, and as the audience, we can't help but continue to watch. At times, it feels like there's some intention in the chaos, some method to the madness, maybe some unseen entity guiding us, or some source to everything that's here, but sometimes not. And the question Dr. Bosch seems to ask us, as all of the references it includes did before,
is it really a reference?
In a world which is random, chaotic, even cruel, seemingly meaningless, can you find meaning? Is the search for truth or answers inherently doomed? Are we destined to go down with the ship, fall into madness or an endless void in our quest to find intentionality or purpose in randomness? This question could of course be applied to a lot of the relevant concepts which surround this series. Reading too deeply into an artist's life through their art, something we do see at times in the web series community, or perhaps intense interest in putting together the remains of a game which has long been dead, or the enduring mystery of a cryptic Russian radio broadcast which remains unsolved. But I would not limit these themes to just a few applications. These questions have been ruminated on since time immemorial and exist at the very core of humanity's drive to continue creating in the face of the universe, if you'll allow me to be a little dramatic. And I think what is so intriguing about Dr. Bosch is it's not just about finding the answers to the mysteries in the game. Dr. Bosch's videos ask us to think about the search itself, what the drive to find meaning says about ourselves, and ask us to question whether any meaning can be found at all. I want to end this video with a sort of call to action as it pertains to this series. I am not an expert in any of the things I've discussed here. I hope that I haven't messed up anything too badly, but I am
that's a
not an
Shire
art
mic.
historian, literary professor, philosophy
Just
major, or
realized
even a super hardcore Fallout
an
player.
SM53?
I am sure that there is a lot of stuff in this series which I missed or connections still to be made. And as far as I can tell, it's still in the works. More entries are yet to come.
And in fact, there is a new
Mer.
video that was released literally
Ow.
hours after I finished this video.
Of
so you have
course.
something new to go watch right now.
Of course,
And I
a new
think this
video
the
is
perfect
launched.
time for everyone out there who may be in the comments ready to correct a
Big
mistake
pie.
I've made, because this is exactly your type of thing. The type of thing you know all about or are great at solving. To go check out the series for yourself.
I'm not
and
a
join
big-
the burgeoning community over there, unraveling its
I'm not very
mysteries.
big on
Really,
the
I
solving
wanted to
that sort of stuff because there is usually a lot of references I don't understand from books I don't know.
make this video to
That
get
happens
more
a lot.
eyes on it, because it may not be my area of expertise, but I know there are people out there for whom this is exactly what they've been looking for. Thank you all for watching. If you like this kind of thing, you can support me on Patreon for
Wasn't
$2
terrible.
and get access
But
to
he
a
did
bunch
do
of
a lot of, like,
behind-the-scenes commentary
you know,
tracks, exclusive reviews.
He did end up doing a very funny bait and switch at the beginning.
And more. Also, the song I made for this video, Lone Wolf Radio, is available on Spotify and pretty much everywhere else, along with free downloads on my Patreon, no subscription required. Thank you all again, and I'll see you all next time.
Should have it would be fun, but oh man, that's a lot of extra work. But hey, it's not. It's an idea, and I can try. Hey, yeah, all right. That's it. That's it for that one. I thought it was interesting. It is an interesting concept that it's one of those it's like basically trying to make sense, trying to basically show you something that makes sense that actually doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. It's just supposed to be chaotic, which is interesting. I like that. Anyways, I need to take a break. I gotta do some daily stuff. I gotta get some food. I gotta go, I gotta have to make a phone call here and a few I already did some dishes today, but I will do maybe a few more. But I need to do several other things. Anyways, I gotta let this dang video render. It's at, what is that? 20%. It still needs apparently, 80 more percent to go. Cool. MalO? Substitute for lover. Or substitute for a lover. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Welcome into the facility. Even though I am taking off for now. We are going to raid somebody else for now. I think Gordy's doing something right now. Gordy, go raid the Gordy. Okay. Raid. Don't take that. I'm gonna give you a different message here. Maloctober. What are you people doing? Gato refuses to leave. Okay, there you go. You're being infected with Maloctober. Give us your credit card info. My favorite. Thank you for the patties. Thank you for the chaos, apparently. Y'all pieing me, throwing stuff at my face anyway. Angies. Big Angies you all are. Alright, everyone. I'm going to shut this down for now. I will hopefully... I'm not sure if I'll be back a little... I don't know if I'll be back until a little later tonight. I might be, but I'm trying to let this thing render first. I don't know if I can actually even play games while this is happening. So, we're gonna let that work itself out. And, yeah, I'll be back if I'm back. If I do, it'll be reaction stuff, because right now it's just, I just can't play games. Anyways, take care, everybody. I'll be back soon.